Hello and welcome to High Point Music's Gear Reviews. I'm Lewis, and in today's episode I'm going to show you the Mad Professor Forest Green Compressor. So the Forest Green Compressor has a pretty cool feature that made me want to review it, and the feature is that you can switch it between either just sustain or just compression. So in compression mode, the attack of your note will carry on, and in sustain mode, we get our natural attack and it only affects the sustain of the notes. To give you an idea of what that sounds like, this is what it does. In compression mode and back to sustain mode. I can dial that compression up for more effect. And then back to just sustain mode. So what you're getting back there is that attack of your notes. If you just want a bit of sustain, you just want to add a little bit of feedback to your sound, then the sustain mode is going to be a great feature. And if you're looking for a more traditional compressor for maybe some country or some chicken picking kind of sounds, then the normal compression mode will work really well. So I'm playing my Fender Stratocaster. Here's my clean tone. And the bridge pickup. And the neck. And I'll probably use a little bit of the second position, which is these two pickups on, because it's got a pretty cool honky kind of sound. So I'm running into the Forest Green compressor and then into our clean. Turn the pedal on like this, and then we've got our four controls. Our level control, which is the overall volume of the effect. The switch to select either the sustain or the compression mode. Our tone control, and our compression control. So the tone control has three distinct ranges. While we're on traditional compression mode, I can show you that. So fully anti-clockwise, the tone is what they consider full range. And while the compressor is having a big effect on the attack of the signal, it's not affecting the tone that much. It's letting as much of it through as possible. Dial that forward, where you can hear it's tightening that bottom end up. And then dialing it fully clockwise, cuts some of the treble out. Reasonably subtle changes, but in the sustain mode they'll be more obvious, so let's change over to that. Full range, to a bit of a bass cut. Into a slight treble cut. Like so. Again, it's a reasonably subtle EQ change, but when you're dealing with clean tones and loud clean tones, just a little bit of shape can make a big difference to the effect signal. Again, obviously volume control sets our output level, so you just want to match that to your dry signal. Depending on where you're using the pedal in your chain and whether you're running the sustain or the compressions setting, the amount of compression will vary quite a bit. As you'll hear in the traditional compression mode, let's go back to full range. With the compression turned all the way up, there's a big difference between that and the end setting. So with the least amount of compression, you can use a lot more of that output volume, whereas turning that compression up will reduce the dynamic range of your playing, and so you're probably going to need a lot more volume to compensate. So let's go back to the sustain mode and really let that sustain out. And you can hear that compression starting to pull that sustain right in. Leaves the attack nice and clean, and for distorted sounds that's a really, really great feature because you need that attack to accent your picking and your dynamic range. So I quite like that mode. The compression mode is a fairly traditional sounding compressor to me. Just takes that top end off a little bit. And sounds pretty good when you're doing that kind of finger picking kind of sound compared to so you're getting a nice tone change there as well. It's a really great way to accent those clean tones and make sure that your guitar tone has an interesting sound to it, as well as keeping everything kind of under control so you're not getting huge differences in volumes. So there are a couple of ways I can see people using this compressor. In its traditional compression mode where it's going to affect your attack dynamics, it's a good way to keep all of your levels under control. So if you've got a valve amp and you want to control how much it's clipping, by having that compressor running, it'll stop your dynamic range reaching that point at which it distorts. So if you've got a small amplifier or you use a lot of amp overdrive and you just want a way to quickly attenuate that distortion or that clipping, that's a great way to do it. The compressor is also a great way to just change the tone of your guitar. You can do a subtle change or a big change, but using those different pickup settings and using it with other pedals will really give you a whole nother layer of sounds you can achieve with just one pedal. Like a reverb, like a little bit of delay, it's just another layer you can add to your palette of tones. And there you have it. So that is the Mad Professor Forest Green compressor. Pretty cool pedal. It's got a good application at the start and the end of the chain, and I really like the sustain mode. I think that's a great feature that a lot of compressor pedals miss out on. If you're interested in picking one of these up, you can do so by following the links below. If you've enjoyed the video, you can give us a thumbs up, a like, a share, a subscribe. We appreciate that feedback. On the topic of feedback, if you've got any questions or suggestions, you can leave those in the comments below. Don't forget to head over to the blog and check out what's going on there. We've got a lot of information, more deep dive information on the pedals and the lessons. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.